Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Movie Reviews and Storytimes. Long time no see, long time no talk. How are you? I hope you're good. This is definitely a brand new YouTuber based in Abuja, Nigeria, West Africa. And this is my channel, Evermore 1993 as one word, YouTube channel. How are you doing? Missed you guys, but we've been trying to add more segments to the channel, so the prep time has been a lot more, hence why this is coming to you at this wonderful time. We've been soaking up all of our previous episodes whilst waiting for new episodes. What are you waiting for? Go to the Evermore 1993 as one word, type that in your search button as one word, Evermore 1993, and you see my channel. Okay, type it in, get on the channel, subscribe, watch all our offerings, our YouTube shorts, our YouTube longs, watch every one of them, press the like button, share, comment, subscribe, invest in this brand. We're going places, join on the band, join on the brand, and yeah, get yourself up to speed with this new episode of Movie Reviews. Right, on today's episode of Movie Reviews, we will be reviewing an American film named Devotion. Now, Devotion came out in 2022. It's based on a real life story, so a lot of the events shown in this film actually happened. It's film based in the 1950s. Now this is a movie about naval aviators that existed in the 1950s. Now it follows the man Ensign Brown Jesse and another man, his friend Tom Hudner. Jesse is black, African American, and Tom is white. And in his group of naval officers, naval aviators, Mr. Jesse is the only black aviator. Literally meaning the only black pilot that can fly, like a fighter jet plane that can go off to war, when jets are shooting rockets, when jets are shooting missiles and whatnot. Those who fly them in the US, they are called naval aviators. They are in the Navy. And Mr. Jesse Brown is the only black in his entire team and his entire squad. Right, and in the 1950s, of course, there was still a little bit of racism. Yes, officially racism had been abolished, like blacks and whites could live in the same neighborhood. For instance, in the neighborhood where Mr. Jesse lived, his right door neighbor was a white woman, but she didn't like them at all. She didn't like the fact that she had to live next to blacks. She didn't like the fact that they could even afford to live in that neighborhood. They could afford a car, they were comfortable. He was married, he had a child, a young daughter named Pam. You will see them in the film if you do get to watch Devotion. So as much as there was no official racism, there was the unofficial racism, the unofficial, you don't belong here, like how did you get here? Glares, remarks here and there, body language. And so Mr. Jesse I would say he was still living the way he probably would in a racist world. So he pretty much put his head down, pretty much was as humble as possible, wouldn't draw unnecessary attention to himself, but would definitely be good at his job enough to keep his job. And he also did love flying planes, so this was not hard for him. It wasn't hard for him to stand out. It wasn't hard for him to pretty much be the best in his team, pretty much be one of the best in the entire squad. So without him even wanting to. The attention will still all the way come back to him, and it will come with a lot of hate, jealousy, envy, lots of really smart remarks here and there from white people that just could not take the fact that a black person had made it in to a fully white community and a fully white elite club, sort of. They always assumed blacks were not smart enough, and here was one black proving them wrong. So they didn't really like to stare at the one person who proved them wrong and see him prove them wrong over and over again with just how good he was at flying the planes. So he pretty much was really smart with the way he moved in that time. He tried as much as he could not to draw attention to himself. He tried not to stand out too much, even though his skin color stood him out already. But like, I would applaud his team, like everyone but for one person in the team just really didn't make it seem like it was so big a deal that he was black. They all just blended in with him. They all related with him normally, even including his lieutenant general. Like, he didn't make it any big a deal. Like, I have to commend the actor who played the lieutenant general, because it was such a Negro role, but just how he took that role and embodied it made it stand out. Like, you would always look forward to hear how he interpret what he had to say, just how he'll express the communication, the dialogue. And I think he's a great actor who definitely deserves a lot more roles, and probably lead roles. Like, he really took this role and made it into something, when I don't know if the writers even cared for it to be that much, you know what I'm saying? So definitely have to applaud that guy. And then right back to Mr. Jesse and Mr. Tom. So the movie opens with Mr. Tom driving into the naval ports, like their station, sort of. So he comes into the room where he's assigned, and he meets Jesse. Jesse is the first person he meets. They introduce themselves, shake hands, and the other guys in their squad come in. They all introduce themselves, pretty much get acquainted with each other. They are now all a member of one team. And so this period, I think it's after the war. So majorly what they ask each other first is, did you fight in the war? Did you fight in the war? And majority of them really didn't fight in the war. They were all born or graduated from naval school or pilot school some years after the war ended or before the war ended, so they were not able to participate in the war. And this is some kind of sore thumb for every one of them. They all wanted to participate in the war. They all wanted to have that war badge, shall I say. So you see all of them kind of feel sad that they could not join the war. So yeah, they are here in the naval, station and whatnot. They're taking classes every day, training themselves, staying sharp just in case any situation arises where they are needed, flying their planes every day for checks and whatnot. And after that, then Mr. Jesse and Mr. Tom are grouped together as a team to fly together their planes and whatnot. And then Mr. Tom gets to see Mr. Jesse fly his plane, and like how dangerously he flies his plane and how good he flies his plane. And he loves to fly close to his home, like to at least alert his wife and whatnot. So Mr. Tom is a bit shaken up by just how almost dangerous Mr. Jesse likes to fly, and kind of wants to get to know him, kind of wants to break down the walls, be friends. But Mr. Jesse is just, not really up to it. To him, this is just another white kid trying to be nice or whatnot. So he's not really opening up to Mr. Tom like that. But over the course of the film, we get to see that they do open up to each other. Mr. Jesse gets to trust Mr. Tom enough to invite him home, introduce him to his wife and his young daughter, Pam. The wife, in turn, realizes that, look, for this man to bring you home, that means he trusts you, because Mr. Jesse don't trust people like that. So she as well opens up to Mr. Tom and asks him to, ensure that her husband is safe when they're out there. This was around the time when China was trying to invade Korea, South Korea mostly. They were allies of the North Korean side of the country, and so the North Koreans were still fighting for dominance over the South. They wanted to unify the Korean country, but under the North, and the South would not have it. So America is helping the South, China is helping the North. So that is bringing a lot of tension, a lot of disagreements, war threats, and whatnot. So yeah, there's a lot of that. And then on the other hand, Russia were already testing out nuclear weapons, building new fighter jets, and pretty much they and America were building same designs somehow. I think they had spies, I don't know. But yeah, this was just a time when war had finished, but it seemed like some people wanted the war to continue, sort of, and some countries would rather not. So there was that whole dance fight thing happening, and so the naval aviators are supposed to be on alert, just in case Russia or China does something, America can instantly react and instantly respond and protect themselves, protect their allies. So then, I think Russia does something and they're told to go in, a particular captain of a ship or warship comes in to draft them to be the naval aviators to take on the mission from Pentagon, which is like the defense leader or defense council of America. And so yeah, they have to ship off, and so they're all left one day to go spend time with their families. And Jesse is telling his wife about this, and she's not really happy because she knows what this means. He's going off, he might not come back. It's a dangerous job her husband does. She loves him, but she wishes he had a better job or a safer job. For some reason, I feel like we cover a lot of army people on this page, a lot of films centered on army people. We've done at least, I think, 2 now. This seems to be our 3rd or 2nd one, and with every one of these films, these people seem to marry people that love them too much to want to lose them. They all seem to be just such nice guys that their partners are so skeptical about letting them go do their job because they don't want to lose this good a partner. And somehow these guys are like the best partners, if not some of the best partners. They are the most loving, the most attentive. And on top of that, they combine that with not always being around. So it's a tug of war as well for this lady. She's married, she has a child. This is her husband, she loves him. We do see a little bit of what their love life is like, and it's beautiful to see. For those, this is an African American man who suffered racism, but who's a naval aviator. It's not easy at his job either, but when he's home with this woman, he's at peace, he's loving, he's attentive, he's playing, he's joking with his wife and his daughter. There's a scene that they show you where he comes home to her painting the house and playing music. And so because the music is a bit loud in the room and she's so immersed in painting the walls, she doesn't hear him coming, and he tiptoes to her and plants a kiss on her neck and hugs her from behind. And she jumps a little bit before she realizes it's him, and she welcomes him home. And the first thing this woman says is, "You're in time to make dinner." Look, the Nigerian in me was surprised because this man goes off to work. He, according to the film, makes majority of the money. At least she seemed to be a housewife, so she wasn't really holding a job. She just stayed home, took care of the home and their child. They were comfortable, so this man was providing. He had a car and he was black, so this is definitely iconic, to say the least. And you tell this man to come home from that work that provides everyone's meal and the roof over their head and still go into the kitchen and make dinner? The Nigerian in me was shook, because you can't do this to Nigerian men. FYI, if you're not from Nigeria, I'm going to tell you the 411 Nigerians. If that man is providing the money, you better be in the kitchen cooking. That is the Nigerian mentality for the men. I not necessarily ascribe to it, but I looked at this man, he was okay with it. He said, "Okay, but may I have this dance?" He danced with his wife, played with his daughter, and went to make dinner after coming home from work, from flying planes, yo. His wife was painting the house. She didn't have to leave that to go make dinner. She didn't have to do nothing else. She didn't have to shake and say, "Oh my goodness, I have not made dinner, he'll be upset." Nothing. And it was okay. I felt like breath of fresh air. I loved that scene so much, and I honestly wish more men were like that. They can contribute their quota to the home. It's okay to switch duties. It's okay to make dinner sometimes. It's okay to take care of your child, be there for her, play with her, change her diapers, put her back to bed, babysit her, feed her, play with her, play with your wife. Marriage is not just sex. It's not just obey me, honor me, respect me. Play, have fun, laugh. They had fun in the home together, So when you see her hesitant to let him go, you know why. She's truly right that this man is a treasure and she doesn't want to lose him. This is a man who suffered racism. No man of the 21st century has any excuse to be anything less than him character-wise. And yet he was the most present, the most loving. How do you combine that? How can light come out from a place that everyone has wanted to pull down with so much darkness? And somehow he managed it, and it's so refreshing to see that, to know that he didn't have to become dark just because everyone was making or trying to make him dark. He was even more lighter. The more darker they tried to paint him or make him, the more lighter he was, So that scene is like one of my favorite scenes, period. The scene where he came home and she told him to go make dinner, and he did. After playing with his wife and child, he went make dinner. He didn't curse on her, nothing. He instead played with her, danced with her before he went to make dinner. That, my dears, is one of my favorite scenes in the entire film. So yeah, that was one of my most favorite episodes in the film. So yeah, they're back at the dining table, and she's obviously worried about him going off to this, mission and whatnot, but he succeeds in, calming her down, and he's now worried because they brought on a new plane he's never flown before for the mission, and according to him, he can't see out of it. The nose is designed in such a way that it's too high for him to see past it, to see the horizon and whatnot. So he's a bit worried about that, and there's a little test they have to carry out before they are officially selected to be on the mission, and it involves being able to fly and land the plane on the carrier. So he's really, focused on that and trying to nail the whole thing. And we also then see, as he had comforted her, she turned back on him and tried to comfort him too, and encourage him to, get it on and really succeed at landing the mission. And it works. He lands it. It took him a bit of a time, and it was a bit difficult for him, but he does land it, and so the entire team actually lands it. But another scene that was kind of cool was when it was his turn and he was flying the plane. On the carrier, we see all the black sailors come out to stand and watch him, to kind of root for him to land, because he's the only pilot. There are a ton of sailors, but he's the only pilot, so they kind of are rooting for the only one of their own to succeed. And so they're all standing watching with expectation as he's about to land it. And when he does land it, you see the smiles on all their faces. They are clapping their hands, they're happy and proud that one of their own made it. He really proved that they can be smart. Black people are smart too. It's not just a thing that is reserved for white people. So that's another cool scene. And so they dock at Cannes in France. These are lingos that are for the Navy, by the way. Dock means because it's a carrier ship, right, that carries naval ship planes and whatnot, and carries their lander gear, the road on which they land, they get parked and all of that, they train on. It's a sort of ship that's called a carrier for some reason. And so it's on this carrier that they are housed, their planes are housed. They take off and land on it for any missions they are going on. It's usually on sea, for the Navy and whatnot. So yeah, this particular ship, they give them a day break, to go see Cannes in France and, pretty much have an excursion of some sort. So all the guys are really out to have fun and see girls and whatnot. And he, of course, had already promised his wife to get her bikinis and stuff, European bikinis. And so he goes to the shop, he separates himself from the guys. He goes into the store where it's been sold, he gets it, and he's now taking a walk across the beach, and he's literally the only black person. I'm telling you guys, everybody else on that beach were white. Crazy. And so somehow he runs into Elizabeth Taylor. So this was around the time she was still really young. She was really the famous actress of her time. If you all don't know, Elizabeth Taylor was the famous actress who played Cleopatra, really gave that character face and name and all this prestige it has and whatnot. And one of the most beautiful women in the world. She married nothing less than twice, and up until when she was old, there were still men proposing marriage to Miss Elizabeth Taylor with the biggest rings in the world. And she didn't just marry nobodies, like really accomplished notable men were smitten with this woman's beauty. She was the most beautiful woman in the world in her time. She was the face of Elizabeth Arden, I think, brand and whatnot. She was an icon in her time. So this movie, I guess it was around the 1950s. She was, reigning as a young actress. So it kind of connects up. And since it's based on a real life story, I guess the real Jessie Brown actually met her. And so he meets her on the beach, and she's really curious about him, and he explains himself, tells her, he's a naval aviator, and she's surprised, like they allow colored people into the Navy now. That's really nice. So she's really nice to him, she invites him over to a party she's having that night. He proceeds to tell her, I'm black, they might not let me in, and she's very adamant. She's like, you tell them Elizabeth Taylor invited you. And I love that she did that. So with that boldness and confidence, he goes back to his guys and tells them, you know what, I just got invited to a party with Elizabeth Taylor, y'all coming? They didn't believe in, they placed a bet with money and everything. And at the gates, they wear all their fancy naval suits and they look really nice in their uniforms, right? They wear white and everything. So they get to the door of the party, there's security, and they have to state their names. And of course, he's the one she invited, so he's the one that walks up to the guys, and in English he tells them, Elizabeth Taylor invited me. And the guy straight up tells him, I know that you weren't invited. He ignores that and just proceeds to tell the other guy, can you at least just look through your list to see if I'm invited? They don't even bother looking through the list. They just assume since he's black, there's no way he could have been invited. And they tell them to leave, So Tom comes to Mr. Jesse's ear and whispers, you know what, we can go to a different party, let's go. Just as they're about to go, Jesse turns around to this man and speaks full on in French and tells him to look through the list that Miss Elizabeth Taylor invited them. They are so surprised that he even understands French, not to talk of speak. They look through the list and see his name there, and they open it up, the gates up to them. Like everyone is, even his team, they are surprised because they don't know he could speak French, right? So with that, they all enter the party and they all see her, and of course he wins the bet. They give him the money right there. He walks up to her and introduces, lets her know that he's there, and she says, you again, welcome, these are your guys. They all hang out gambling and whatnot, and they stay there for a bit. And with that, they just show how he saved the day and pretty much gave his team a cool party time during their day off and everything. So yeah, it's a beautiful film, and a lot of the times it's centered on Jessie Brown and Tom, and just how their friendship grew from just being assigned to fly with each other to being real friends. At the point, Jesse's car packed up on the road, so as he was repairing it, Tom drives by, sees him, and gives him a lift home. And they talk a little bit about Tom's family too. He comes from a rich family that owns a lot of grocery stores, and his dad wanted him to inherit them, but he would rather be a naval aviator. So even though his family lives nearby, he doesn't really stay with them. Maybe there's a bit of conflict, I don't know. But they really get close and everything. They become real friends. They fly together, in their jets and planes and whatnot. And so the real war comes. They have to go to China and stop China from trying to help North Korea defeat South Korea. That mission goes well, even though I have to commend that Tom was given leadership of the team who would lead that mission, and Jesse, seeing that it was his friend, kind of took advantage of that, I would say, because I feel like if it was his other leader, he wouldn't have disobeyed the order and run off to go make a name for himself by destroying the bridge. He would have obeyed the leader, maybe disgruntledly, but still he would have obeyed the leader. But because it was his friend, he kind of looked down on the man's leadership, Tom's leadership. And when they were supposed to bomb 2 bridges, but the team who were involved in the bombing did only 1. But Tom had already said, we have gotten 1 success, let's pull out. This is already dangerous zone. We're not supposed to ignite another war with China. We are supposed to tread really carefully. We've done 1, it's good, let's go. Jesse, seeing that the other bridge wasn't bombed, was like, you know what, I can actually get this. I can go there and bomb the bridge. But Tom is like, no, we need to leave. And he just ignores Tom's instructions and, orders, and goes to bomb the bridge. And when they get home, Tom is supposed to report how the mission went. He reports it as it went exactly, truth be told. And of course, it means Jesse committed insubordination. And so it's put in his records. And that means he can't get promoted anymore. So there's a scene where they talk about it, and I don't really support what Brown did. I understand we're supposed to bomb both bridges, but we got 1, and the point was to at least get 1. That was the point of the entire mission. At least get 1 bridge, bomb that, and it's good. We are by all means not supposed to aggravate the Chinese to the point of them creating or starting another war. That was also very important, really well spelled out. So everyone was treading really carefully. For him to go off on his own, to go make a name for himself, was really selfish, I would say. I understand he's the only black. He needed to stand out, represent for his people, whatnot. But at this kind of ops, you are together as a team. You are weaker as a single person. It's only when you're a team you're stronger. So him going off on his own, he put his entire team in danger, because everyone then had to wait for him to finish bombing the bridge before they could all go home together. Now, whilst waiting, something else could have come through. They could have lost their planes. They could have lost their lives. He put all those lives in danger just so he could make a name for himself. And that was really incredibly selfish of him, incredibly condescending of him too. He looked down on he didn't show respect and regard for the leadership and authority of his friend. If you're in Nigeria, you know this thing called C finish. He exhibited C finish with the guy, sort of. Because if it wasn't his friend in charge, he wouldn't have done what he did, because he knows it would have gotten him fired or at least suspended. But because he was his friend, thought, I can do it, and I still my friend. It's not anything big, but he's your friend when you guys are together. Now he's the one in charge of a mission. You cannot treat it the same. I've always said this, that love has to have priorities. It has to have boundaries. It has to have respect. It has to have honor, value. If it doesn't have those things, it's not really love. If you disrespect the person you claim to love, you have no value for the person. If you have no respect, if you do not understand boundaries, I cannot do this, I don't do this, and you respect that, you honor that. If you can't do that, then what exactly is your love? What are you loving on? What do you mean when you say you love someone? So I think he really disrespected the guy in that position, and he then had an entitled mentality about it. He thought the guy shouldn't have reported the truth. He came telling the guy, oh, how can you do this? How can you tell them I was insubordinate? But you kind of were, though. If you weren't, nobody will say you were, and he's not the only one who has to report on the mission. Every other person who were on the mission, they all reported the same thing, the truth. And the truth means you disrespected and did not honor the order of your leader. Hi guys, so for reasons I cannot explain, I had to split the video into 2 parts. So this is the end of part 1. So stay tuned for part 2. Yeah, that's it. Have a lovely day. Be blessed. God bless you. You know the drill. Love on God. Fulfill God's purpose and plans for your life. Love on humanity. Love on yourself. You're amazing. You are the only one that there ever was created to be you. You are the original you. Be you indeed. Love on yourself. Love on God. Love on people. And take care of yourself. God bless you. Bye. Stay tuned for part 2, guys. Bye. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Movie Reviews and Storytimes. Long time no see, long time no talk. How are you? How are you? How are you? I hope you're good. This is Stephanie. I'm a brand new YouTuber based in Abuja, Nigeria, West Africa. And this is my channel, Evermore 1993, as one word, YouTube channel. How are you doing? Missed you guys, but we've been trying to add more segments to the channel, so the prep time has been a lot more, hence why this is coming to you at this wonderful time. Hope you've been soaking up all of our previous episodes whilst waiting for new episodes. If you haven't, what are you waiting for? Go to the Evermore 1993 as one word, type that in your search button as one word, Evermore 1993, and you see my channel. Okay, type it in, get on the channel, subscribe, watch all our offerings, our YouTube shorts, our YouTube longs, watch every one of them. Press the like button, share, comment, subscribe. Invest in this brand. We're going places. Join on the band, join on the brand, and yeah, get yourself up to speed for this new episode of Movie Reviews. Right, on today's episode of Movie Reviews, we will be reviewing an American film named Devotion. Now, Devotion came out in 2022. This is the second part of this review and story time. For the first part, check out our page, Evermore 1993 as one word YouTube channel. You'll get the first part. This is the second part of the movie review for Devotion, the American 2022 Netflix movie. He looked down on he didn't show respect and regard for the leadership and authority of his friend. If you're in Nigeria, you know this thing called see finish. He exhibited see finish with the guy, sort of. Because if he wasn't his friend in charge, he wouldn't have done what he did, because he knows it would have gotten him fired or at least suspended. But because he was his friend, thought, I can do it now. He's still my friend. He's not anything big, but he's your friend when you guys are together. Now he's the one in charge of a mission. You cannot treat it the same. I've always said this, that love has to have priorities. It has to have boundaries. It has to have respect. It has to have honor, value. If it doesn't have those things, it's not really love. If you disrespect the person you claim to love, you have no value for the person. If you have no respect, if you do not understand boundaries, I cannot do this, I don't do this, and you respect that, you honor that, If you can't do that, then what exactly is your love? What are you loving on? What do you mean when you say you love someone? So I think he really disrespected the guy in that position, and he then had an entitled mentality about it. He thought the guy shouldn't have reported the truth. He came telling the guy, oh, how can you do this? How can you tell them I was insubordinate? But you kind of were, though. If you weren't, nobody will say you were, and he's not the only one who has to report on the mission. Every other person who were on the mission, they all reported the same thing, the truth. And the truth means you disrespected and did not honor the order of your leader. So he kind of tried to guilt trip Tom, and Tom fell for it, because I do believe Tom was really, really into him as a friend. Tom really liked Jesse, so he would honestly do anything for Jesse at this point. So even though Tom was right for reporting what really happened, we still see Tom trying to go make amends by gathering the guys to help them twitch a little bit what they said happened. But it really didn't help. Jesse kept feeling like he wasn't doing enough. And I do believe that these kind of friendships are the kind that drain you, because in their eyes you're not doing enough, because you are not enough to begin with for them. You're not the problem, they are. But they try to spin it on you. The emotional blackmail begins, and you begin to feel like you're not enough, and it begins to spread to other aspects of your life. It's an emotional thing and a mental thing. And at that point I kind of was more worried for Tom, because he seemed unguarded with Jesse. No matter how much you love somebody, your rules, your boundaries, your mentality on subjects, the pillars that mold your life, the mental pillars that mold your life should never be off. There should be nobody that comes in your life and you off the motion sensors for them. Nobody. If anything, that's the minute it should be on. That way, any bullshit, you sense it straight away and you cut off, or you fix it, you deal with it. But for some reason, he really liked Jesse to the point that even things like as simple as being able to say the truth, Jesse was willing to attack that character trait in him of being able to say the truth no matter what it costs him or costs anybody. Jesse attacked that and he was okay with it. I would have cut off from that moment and let him know, you did the wrong thing. You should have obeyed the orders. I was put in charge. At that point, I was not your friend, I was your leader. You should have obeyed. Even if, yes, you got the second bridge burned, it was instructions we were working with. You could have gotten yourself killed. You could have gotten us killed. It was dangerous what you did. It was reckless what you did. You should have obeyed. And since you didn't obey, you should suffer the consequences for not obeying. And insubordination, non-promotion, that's the consequence. So deal with it. Love you still though. That would have been my personal response. Because I won't change my mentality, my character for you. I won't belittle myself for you. I won't break down character traits that I took years to build up to make me a better person just so you can be happy. But I guess Mr. Tom didn't think the same. So either way, Mr. Brown didn't even accept or appreciate the effort he and the guys put in, so he just left. That was the end of that scene. And so we see the black sailors on the ship send a representative to Mr. Jesse with a gift, a watch, just thanking him for representing them and for proving that they can go all the way. And it serves as some kind of uplifting moment for him after the whole insubordination thing. So he smiles when he gets the gift and he thanks the representative from the black sailors on the ship. And so the next point of call is the fact that as they had bombed the two bridges that China was using to get, supplies of armor to the North Koreans, the Chinese wanted to retaliate on that. So they stormed their army site on the ground, and pretty much almost killed the entire American army. So upon, hearing of that, the leader of these naval aviators, takes them to this place on their jets to help the army people by reducing how much advantage the Chinese have. So they're flying on planes, they're shooting at the Chinese from up in the air into the trees and bushes and the snow and whatnot. So it does help. The Americans can rise now and fight fair square, and the Chinese are running. So it helps. But as they succeed, one of the flyers realizes that Jesse's plane has been butchered by a bullet, so it's losing some kind of liquid, and he figures out that it's gas that is leaking. So I guess because of the level of technology at the time, there were no pull-out buttons. These jets, fighter jets now have pull-out buttons where you can evacuate yourself instantly from your chair out of the plane whilst it goes on to be destroyed, and you can be saved, and with that your parachute shoots up and you're able to fly to safety or sway in the air to safety. But then there were no such things. So the method for him, since the jet was losing fuel or gas rather, was to pretty much destroy the plane, and he couldn't destroy it without being in it. So he had to fire the missiles and the rockets that he had into some empty mountain and bush, pretty much dismantle everything that came or was mounted onto the plane, and then crash land on the ground. This was the plan, and it was snowing at the time in the place where they were. So he proceeds to do this, but he's supposed to come out of the plane when he's crash landed. That way they can then shoot at the plane to destroy it and prevent enemy army from getting hold of the plane and learning about the plane to use against them and whatnot. But he's not getting out of the plane, and everybody else is hovering around where he crash landed, waiting for him to get out of the plane. That way they can fire rockets at it to destroy it, and he's not getting out, and Tom is getting worried. So Tom then figures out, wait, he's stuck in the plane, that's why he's not getting out of the plane, and the nose of the plane is already on fire. Okay, so he doesn't have much time to be alive in this plane. So what does Tom do? He does a very heroic thing. This guy was a friend to the end. It's one of these rare films where a white man comes through for a black person in such a cool way, putting himself in danger so many times, making it clear to the world that this is my friend, I don't care what color he is. This is one of those rare films, and it's so nice to see such films, because a lot of the times, and I know it's not their fault, but a lot of the race related films show every white against every black. So it's always nice for those in-betweeners that tell us that, you know what, as much as yes, the racism was thick and was heavy and all those films are not lying, there were a few exemptions amongst the whites. There were whites that stood up for black people, that stood up against fellow white people and said, we don't supposed to do this. Racism is wrong. There were whites that didn't have slaves. There were whites that freed their slaves, bought them their freedom, gave them their own lives, gave them their own homes, their own plantations, sent their children to the same school as their own kids, made sure they were set up for life, protected them from racism. There were a few whites that did this too. So would it be nice to tell one side of the story only? No, we should tell the full story. And when we are being disgruntled, we know what area to angle it at. That way, these people don't feel like, damn, so all I did was nothing. Because they did something, and it counts for something, and it should be appreciated and honored and regarded. So he does the dumbest thing. He literally destroys his own plane and crash lands as well in the very same spot, just to go find out if Jesse is okay. And so when he lands, he finds out that Jesse is stuck in the plane. The literal nose of the plane, the forehead of the plane that shows all the signs and all the buttons and whatnot, literally crashed and is piercing into the legs and the bones of Jesse Brown. So he's in immense pain. All this while the nose of the plane is on fire. So it's a snowing environment, so he uses the snow, meaning Tom, uses the snow to put out the fire, and then comes to try and help Jesse lift up the nose of the plane, the front of the plane that is really piercing into his legs, and there's no lifting this thing. It's literally stuck into his boat. Like, how much pain he would have been in, because this is the 1950s. So this was real steel and metal they used to build these planes, guys. The heaviest of the heaviest. This is the time when, crude oil, the land was really mined for these minerals, and they used them in the rawest form possible. So we are talking tons of sizes, like the size in tons. You're talking of steel that is steel, not fake, original. So this is weighing on his legs. There's no way out. He can't shake, he can't move. And it's snowing. He's freezing. He doesn't have like weather protection gear on. His head is exposed, his ears are exposed. He doesn't even have, I don't think he had gloves on. Yeah, he didn't have gloves on. So the weather is not nice, neither is his position. So everything was really built to kill this guy. So Tom tries for a while. Rescue operations comes through the helicopter to try and help. They fire extinguish the fire. They're trying to use an axe to break through the door side of the plane to get Jesse out. But before they can do that, Jesse gives Tom a last message for his wife, and he dies. He dies right there in the plane in the cold, and just curved in one corner, feeling cold and just in pain. So Jesse died, and the Chinese were already closing in, so they had to helicopter out of there. They could even take his body. And Tom makes a promise to the dead Jesse, I'll come back for you, I'll come back to take your body. And so he helicopters out with the rescue mission person, and on getting back he realizes that the leaders say they can't go back for Jesse's body because the entire mountain area has been surrounded by Chinese people who have probably taken his body. So Tom is really sad and everything, and now they have to go bomb the plane. That way the Chinese don't get their hands on the plane. So and Tom is not even allowed to make that trip because now he's emotionally attached and they don't want him doing anything crazy. So he stays back on the carrier while his teammates go off to carry out the mission, and he's really in stitches, you guys. He's not happy. He's crying. This movie had a lot of men crying, and I tried to show that with the pictures because I think the world tries to convince men that they don't have tears anymore, and that's ridiculous. They're allowed to cry as much as women are. They're allowed to be emotional. They're allowed to not always be strong. They're allowed to lean on somebody. So I like that this film showed them being really in love with each other and rooting for each other and being sad if anything happened to each other, fighting for each other, being there for each other. And so Tom is crying whilst the rest of the team goes off to carry out the last mission. And so that's takes us to 1 year after, where the country of the United States is honoring Mr. Tom for his bravery in going back to get Jesse, and Jesse is posthumously also honored. His photo is there, his wife is invited. Besides, man, they were cruel. They didn't even send nobody to tell her her husband was dead. They literally put a letter describing him dead on her doorpost. That part was cruel. How you tell a woman who's married with a kid that her husband is dead? And you tell her that by some letter. No personnel there to tell her, comfort her. That was a bit cruel of them, but that's how she found out that her husband was dead. So as she's coming back, she finds the letter, she reads it right there on the doorstep, and she just falls down to the stairs and starts crying. Her friend is comforting her as well. So 1 year later, of course, she boards a plane all the way to Washington, D.C. to get this honorarium for her husband in posthumous. So right there is the first time she's seen Tom after the whole situation. And after Tom is honored and they take photos with the then president, Tom finally approaches her to speak with her and apologize for not being there for Jesse. And she's just telling him, you did your job. You're not there to save him. You at least were there for him, and I've heard of what you did, and I just want to say thank you for all you did for my Jessie, you know. And he then proceeds to tell her Jessie's last words, which were you know, I can't remember her name now. Tell my wife how much I love her. And so, you know, from there, I think their friendship blossoms, and I think that's the end of the film. They proceed to show us the real Jessie Brown. Wow, it's crazy, and the real Tom, and them in their planes and everything, and his real wife, and even their children after them, their grandchildren, and how Tom, even in old age, was still advocating for North Korea to return Jessie Brown's body. It seemed it was North Korea that took possession of the body and probably buried it there in North Korea, and they wanted it excavated and brought back to the United States. So Mr. Tom has been, you know, moving in the political Capitol Hill to see that laws are made, you know, negotiations are made with North Korea to try and return Jessie Brown's body. He succeeds to an extent in that he's allowed to go into North Korea to at least see where Jessie Brown was buried, but he's not allowed to take the body back. You know, even upon his death, his family and the children, I guess the surviving family of Jessie Brown, are friends now, and they're both calling on the government to do what it takes to bring back Jessie Brown's body. You know, they even show all the children now, the daughter and the son, the grandson, the granddaughter of both Jessie Brown and Tom. Wow, it's crazy. They were really close. All this really happened, you know. So yeah, that's the end of the film, guys. I really liked this one. I really did. It showed the devotion was in the friendship. It wasn't even in the planes. It was just in the friendship that Tom fought to have with Jessie Brown. He even fought Brown to be his friend. Brown wouldn't have it. Brown thought he was just a white dude. But even Tom had to convince Brown that he was not just a white dude. Many times when people would try to be racist to Brown, it would be Tom that would be up in triggers, trying to fight, box, trying to defend Brown. Brown would just want to walk away. He would really want to avoid any altercation as much as possible. His way of dealing with any racist attempt at him was to just scoff it off and hide pretty much and try to get away from it without even saying a word. That was his reaction and his strategy. But it doesn't always work, because some people are deliberately mean and would want to stay on your case until they get a response. You know, so there was a point that Tom actually punched someone for him, and he felt angry that Tom would go to that extent, and Tom didn't understand. Like, I'm trying to defend you, I'm trying to help you, and he was like, no, I can do it all myself. I've been fighting this fight all my life. I'm okay alone. You know, he was used to being alone, but so he felt weird when Tom wanted to join in. You know, and but at a point, even he had to admit that he could tell that Tom was sincere. So yeah, I think the name Devotion really spells out just how committed Tom was to being the friend of Jessie Brown. And I can't lie, I cried when I saw Jessie Brown die. It just seemed like such a wasteful way for him to die. If only the technology then had caught up to the point it is now, where he could have evacuated from the plane without even meeting the ground at all, you know. I wish the planes then were built to this capacity. I wish they had this knowledge then, to be honest, Jessie Brown wouldn't have died. You know, it's just that was as much knowledge as they knew then, and that's the knowledge with which they built the plane. And it's the faulty design of that plane that caused his death. There was also another death on the film that also I blame on the design of the jets. And I can't blame the people who designed it. They were even geniuses to have figured it out to that point in 1950s. I mean, it's a really long time from now, and they had figured it out to that point, and I do applaud them. I just honestly wish that they had the knowledge that the designers of today's jets have, and which prevents a whole lot more deaths than were recorded back in the day. then many of those people wouldn't have died. They would have lived long, old, and died old and everything, passed on knowledge, really defended their countries for long, and fulfilled their dreams and their loves, because at the end of the day, they really like flying these planes and whatnot and defending their country, So I'm not happy with how he died. It seemed like such a simple but yet painful way for him to die, and it's just not right that North Korea is holding on to his body. I mean, give his body back to his family. Let them have closure. Let them mourn him. Let them put him on the ground where they desire. Let him be on the soil for which he died. He suffered for this soil. He defended this soil. The least we could all do is give him this opportunity to be on that soil, to be buried there, So I'm also using this opportunity to plead with the government and whoever is in charge of this kind of negotiations. I know it might mean probably giving North Korea something in exchange, but I don't know what it is, but I do think Jesse Brown ensign should be returned back to American soil. Should be buried with his family, with his wife that he loved till his death, and honestly should have a great closure to the amazingness that was his existence. And I'm so proud to know that he existed. I'm glad for stories like this, because we get to know that in the midst of all that racism, these were blacks that prevailed, that proved that we were not just slaves. That we are as smart, if not smarter than the whites, and we can hold our own just like they can. God didn't discriminate. We are all equal in his sight, and we can all do and undo. All things are possible to all of us, not just white people. So to any whites watching this, I hope you feel proud that there was somebody like Tom who existed to prove that you all are not monsters, that you all have hearts, and some of y'all are good people. Hopefully the majority at this point in time, but we don't know for sure. But at least some of y'all are worth the fight, are worth the love, and are good people. I hope any white person watching this, listening to this, can feel proud and thankful that somebody like Tom existed. Yes, and for every black, I hope you can feel proud and feel like you can accomplish anything you hope for, because Jesse Brown did it in the hardest of times. If he could do it, then you can too. He was black. He suffered it all. He got the smears and the eye contact and the hateful speech. There were moments where there was a notebook he carried around on which he wrote every hateful word anybody has ever said to him. You all need to watch the film to see how he deals with all that hate and all that venom that people spew at him. It's sad, but honestly, unblameable way, if there's such a word, of how he deals with that pain, how he deals with those arrows, that venom. It's sad, but you can't really beat down on it. You can't really say, what is that? You can't insult it, because you understand to an extent that he was doing what he had to do to keep himself alive mentally, to stay ashore mentally, and not drown in this huge sea that was trying to swallow him up, man. He did a lot, and I'm proud, so happy to know about him. So thankful to the people who made this film. I hope they feel proud. Everyone who was a part of this film. This is a black girl from Nigeria saying thank you so much for making the devotion film. I'm super grateful that you all made this movie, because now I know, and knowing makes my life so much easier and makes me attaining my goals in life a lot much doable, a lot much closer. My dreams don't seem so far away now, because he did it at times when it would have been okay if he didn't have hope, because there was already a lot killing hope around. It would have been okay if he didn't have a dream, if he didn't make any ends meet, if he didn't succeed, but he wanted to do the impossible in his time, and he did. So it's a huge encouragement to me as a black person, as an African residing in Africa. And I'm thankful to him, I'm thankful to his family, I'm thankful to Tom and his family for letting them make this film, I'm thankful to everyone who was a part of this film. Thank you. God bless you all so freaking much. And to you listening, please, 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 whether you've watched any films I've done so far or not, this is definitely one that I would recommend for sure. Go watch Devotion, the 2022 Netflix movie. It's a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. The box office might not say so, but I say so. It is a masterpiece. It's worth the watch. And what this review and story time, and we've come to the end of it. I don't want to push this any further than we have already pushed it. So we'll end here and just want you to know, keep serving the purposes of God, keep serving the purposes of humanity, and keep loving on you. There's no better you, there's no second you. You are the only you that there will ever be, the original you. Keep being the original you. Do not be the photocopy of anybody else. You are worth it. You are loved, you are liked, you are perfect. Perfection is not far from you. You are it, baby. God bless you. Have a lovely day. Share, like, comment, subscribe to the page Evermore 1993 as one word YouTube channel. Once again, I'm Stephanie, a brand new YouTuber based in Abuja, Nigeria, and on this page we post movie reviews, movie story times, event rundowns, love gist life, and so on and so forth. Join on and encourage and build up the brand. You will be built up too. Have a beautiful day. And yeah. Oh yeah, so this is the end of part 2. We filmed this in part 1 and 2, so this is the end of part 2. Yeah. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Movie Storytimes. How have you been? It's been a minute, you guys. How are you? How are you? How are you? This is Stephanie, a new YouTuber based in Abuja, Nigeria, West Africa, bringing movie story times to you on the YouTube channel Evermore 1993 as one word. Evermore 1993 YouTube channel. On this channel we talk movie reviews, movie story times. We just added a new segment called Event Rundown. Check out our episodes on that. And also love, life, gist, and all whatnot. You know, it's a brand new channel. We're still navigating our way, but we've got some things on lock. And one of them is movie story times. Today, we are speaking on the American film named Hustle. Hustle, the 2022 Netflix American film. That's our topic today on Movie Story Times. Welcome. Wow, how has your week been? I hope you've been amazing. I hope you've been good. I hope you've been loving on yourself. I hope you've been putting God first. You've been considering others a lot more than you used to. The world needs a lot more love, you guys, a lot more kindness, a lot more selflessness. So I hope you've been applying, even if it's a little bit, to more of your actions, your words, your intentions, your thoughts. If not, then you're welcome to do so next from today. Yes. Welcome. So, our movie of today is a sport movie. Yeah, it's a basketball film, you guys. It's been a minute I watched a sport-focused film. So I was really excited to watch today's own after seeing the trailer and seeing what it was about a little bit. You know, Adam Sandler is in this one. If you all know Adam Sandler, he's a comedian, really established movie producer, literally has his own movie, production company, has a lot of movies produced by him, has his own entire portfolio, of films and whatnot. So this was really exciting to see him do LeBron James. Yes, LeBron James, the newly minted basketball billionaire. Yes, black basketball billionaire. We have another one, guys. Yay! So he has a movie production company. He runs with his partner Maverick Carter, named Spring Hill. So with this production company, he did there's this other film. It was more of an animation movie. It was also a sports film, like a remake and a continuation of the first one that was done, I think, 10 or so years ago, Really can't remember the name right now. It also came out either 2021 or 2022. So this is also him continuing with his movie production, and I guess for now he's maybe focused on basketball movies since he's a basketballer himself. So this movie is a basketball film, and he's part of the producers with his own production company, and it was done for Netflix. So you can find this one on Netflix, guys. The name Hustle, once more, and it's an American film. Okay, so this movie opens with, Adam Sandler. He's a scout for the basketball team 76ers, and so they send him out to different countries to scout out new talent, people to add on to the team, people to bring on for training before adding to the team and whatnot, because they're trying to win a championship. So they feel like they need fresh talent, and maybe it's best to look outside the country of America, for the fresh talent. So he's going all over the world. He's going to every continent you can imagine. There's even a scene filmed for the Senegal basketball team. He goes there to see their team. He goes to China, he goes to Russia and whatnot. And the scene opens with a really funny scene. Like he goes to this particular country to see this guy play, and he's really good and he's really tall. And so, of course, as he comes in the basketball court, he's seeing the guy play, and he's already intrigued because he sees the guy is really good. So after the play and whatnot, he then proceeds to ask the man about everything. Like, are you straight? Are you 22? Because if you're not 22 years old, you can't really go in the NBA. The age restriction is 22, and the man says yes, he's 22. And you're looking at this man, he don't look 22 at all. So Adam proceeds to ask him, okay, so do you have a birth certificate that proves that you're actually 22 years old? He goes on to say it was a big fire that burnt off his birth certificate. Just whilst Adam Sandler is still trying to wrap his head around that, his kid comes in the court. And this kid is literally more than half this man's height. And if you know basketballers are 6 foot and above, and his child is more than half his height, looking full grown. And so Adam proceeds to ask him, okay, so who's this? And he says, oh, it's your son. He says, okay, your son, how old is he? This man proceeds to tell Adam that full grown man with beard is 10 years old. It was really a funny opener scene for sure. So Adam looks at the man, looks at his kid, and was like, okay, you guys think I'm joking here, and he just leaves the room, the court. So he really meets so many different scenes. Like with the Senegal team, there's this particular guy he was eyeing for, to take with him, but on the court, the guy wasn't really performing. He pulls him aside after the game to speak to him on it, and the guy is high on weed, you guys. So he's not even hearing anything that Adam has to say. And Adam is like, you can't do this in the NBA. We need you to be alert on the court. And the guy is too high to even hear what Adam is saying. So Adam just walks away shaking his head. That's how that guy lost out on his opportunity, the Senegal dude. And so in China in the Chinese team, they literally put this guy to play with children who are shorter than him. So he's literally scoring all the points, and the kids are struggling to even touch the ball. When Adam sees this, he just stands up and he just understands that this is not even a game. There's a different team he goes to, and the guy has anger issues. He begins to fight the coach, begins to fight, I think, the person who's the referee. Adam shakes his head and is like, this one can't even stand. If at this level of competition you can't restrain yourself and have self-control and control your anger, how much more in a more competitive environment like the American basketball scene and everything. So one thing that stood out to me was whenever he came to watch somebody play, he wasn't really only just looking at the person's talent. He was also looking at the person's character. If the person doesn't score a point, how does he react? Does he fight his teammates? Does he fight the opposing teammates? Does he fight the referee? Does he fight the coach? Does he even fight the people who pay to come watch him play? He wasn't just looking for talent, he was also looking for character. And I think that's really refreshing in a world where that makes it seem as if, oh, your character can suck, but just be really good at your job and nobody will be able to say no to you because they'll have to suck up to the fact that you behave badly but you can deliver on the job. But with him, he prefers you to both deliver on the job and be a great like company. Like your character should be good too. So yeah, it's something that really stands out for him. So he has this list, of the people he had to go all over the world to go check. So he struck out everybody because there's something that he just didn't like about every single person, left to one guy. And this particular guy really doesn't blend in with his teammates. If he doesn't score a point, he gets really upset. The character thing wasn't there, but the talent was really there, and he's the last name on the list. So he reports to his team leader, the sports chairman, the sports team chairman. And of course, they're arguing over it and everything. Like he's back in, Philadelphia where the 76ers are. So he's back at work. He has to report what he has gone for. He has to report on all the athletes he met and why he thinks they are good, why he thinks they're not good. So the son of the owner of the team is also like an executive in the company. So he's also at this meeting and he has a different mentality on things. He believes more in talent than character, probably because he himself throughout the film didn't exhibit any form of character. So he was pretty much rooting for people like him. Let me just say that now. So whenever Adam would speak about character and the fact that yes, this person could score points, but he's not good in the character and it will catch up to him sooner or later. The son is over there just watching it down and making it seem like he's not being serious, or he's being too serious, or like he's being a warmonger, a war mummy, or whatnot. At the end of the day, the owner of the company chooses to go with Adam and chooses not to sign this guy that is really good on his talent but really bad on his character. And the leader just takes him on a ride and is like, you know what, stand up for what you believe in. Don't just cower because somebody else is backing at you. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for what you think. Don't just let other people bully you into what you don't want just because that's what they want. He was really speaking sense into him and then gave him a promotion. And this is the promotion that Adam has always wanted in the film. He always wanted to be a coach. He didn't really want to be a scout because being a scout, as they showed in the early stages of the film, he was always away from home. He was always Skyping or video calling with his wife. He always missed his child's birthday because he's always out of the country. He's always eating junk because he can barely settle in enough to figure out what is good enough to eat. He's always on planes. He's always reading and writing and watching back footages to be sure of what he's reporting back to his team, to be sure of his decisions. So it's a really lonely and what's the word I'm looking for? A hard job to do as a married man with a child. I think that kind of job should probably mostly go to single people, not trying to shade single people, but it's a lot easier when you don't have a daughter to take care of or cater to, a spouse to take care of and cater to, So the fact that he was married with a child and he was still on the road all the time, like they showed him in different airports, different hotel rooms, like it's crazy, different planes going up and down, just this guy all over the world trying to find the best unknown and unsigned players for his team and whatnot. So it's a really tasking job that took him away from his family, and he really didn't like that. He really missed a lot about his family, and he wanted like a permanent job that he can come home every day to meet his family from and go to work from home, that kind of job, a routine type of job. And being a coach provides that. He lives in that Philadelphia as well, so it wouldn't have been tough for him to do that instead, and he always wanted that, but I guess he had to probably fulfill what his boss wants first before he gets what he wanted. So after the boss gives him this pep talk and he agrees, the boss takes him to the office meant for the assistant coach and shows him the office and tells him, congratulations, this is your promotion, you finally get to be an assistant coach. And the guy Adam is really sentimental, he's emotional, he's like, this is what I've always wanted to be a coach and everything. So Yeah, it's a really cool scene, but the thing is, the man dies that day. Just as he gets home, he gets on the radio and hears that the man is dead, and there's already a funeral. The man's son, that is the characterless person, takes over as the person in charge with the team. It's a whole thing, guys. So long story short, of course that guy didn't like him because his dad always sided with Adam, so he didn't really like Adam. So he was honestly just looking for an opportunity to throw Adam right back out in the field, away from him. That way he can rule as he wants, because of course with Adam he can't do as he pleases. So he just finds an excuse and tells Adam to go back out into scouting, and Adam would not want that. Like, he's missed his child's birthday for 9 years straight, according to him in the film. He would really like to be home more now that his daughter is a young adult, and whatnot, and be home for his wife too, and everything. But this guy is not hearing what Adam has to say. So Adam is right back out in the field. He's there to find them another star. And he stumbles on the star. The person he's out in Spain, or was in Mexico to meet. Okay, Spain. He was in Spain to meet a particular guy, and the guy was out on injury, and he wasn't told before he arrived. So upon arrival, he's hearing that the person, the athlete, is supposed to see play. He's not even going to play because he's out on injury. And he's like, okay, so why did you let me come all the way here? And he's like, you know what? Is there a place I can go play basketball? And as they show him the spot, he's going there and he sees a crowd of people, youth everywhere, very vibrant, cheering on who they like. And he just stays to watch, really curious. Okay, who's playing here, And it's really youth from the neighborhood, so they don't really have any structure to their game. They're not really trying to be in the NBA or anything. They're just playing the game that they love out in the streets, and people that are there are also supporting the teams that they want. So he sees this really tall guy come and really slam a lot of that ball in the hoop and everything, and he's really blown away by the guy's talent and everything. After the guy is done playing, he proceeds to chase the guy, and it's a whole thing. He tries to, scout him pretty much, follows him all the way to his home. He even ends up having to call a retired basketballer who's from Spain as well, I think, that he presumes that the guy will recognize, to verify his identity, that he's not a fake or anything, that he's really a scout for the NBA and everything. So upon seeing the famous face, the guy agrees that okay, you're legit, and he allows him into his home. The guy lives with his young daughter and his mother. So they proceed to tell him about his life and everything, and he's really intrigued by this young man, and he believes he has found a star, right? He wants to try, he wants to test him out a little bit before taking him back to America. So he plans out a whole trial with some of the people from the Spanish basketball team for the next day, and tells the guy to come through. This film shows a lot of the structure it takes to even get into the NBA. It's a lot of networking, guys. So the fact that he had to go outside of the system to find this guy shows just how life sometimes is. What you're looking for is really sometimes not in the system. Sometimes it's out in the wild. And he really wasn't specifically going for the wild. He really stumbled upon the guy out in the wild because the person he came for wasn't even there. If the guy he came for to Spain was there, he wouldn't have met this other guy because he would have been too busy with the person who's already in the system, So it shows a lot that at least with the American NBA, you have to know the right people to be able to get in. They are not really looking out for everybody. They're just looking out for those who have understood the structure and have done the work to place themselves in the structure, waiting for their opportunity to be picked. Those are the kind of people they are majorly looking out for. And it's once in a blue moon that they venture out of their structure to find some rare gem. And this guy happened to be one of them. He was not in the structure. He was a construction worker at daytime and played basketball at night because it's something he really loved. But he still had to support his daughter. He still had to support his mother. So he had to be a construction worker. He couldn't even afford sneakers. The shoes he was playing with, could end up giving him an injury. Even there was a point in the film where Adam had to get him Kobe's Kobe sneakers because he didn't have any himself, and not wearing the right shoes is one of the fastest ways to get injured, and getting injured reduces your profitability to the team and everything. So he was really outside of the structure and outside of the system. So even Miss Adam taking him back to America was on a leap of faith, because his team would not have the guy, because the guy was so even Adam hiring him or taking him back to the US was a leap of faith. Like, even the 76ers wouldn't have him after watching his footages that like Adam sent from Spain, to know, okay, are you like game? Are you into this guy coming back? The guy wouldn't like, the new boss, his name is Vin. Vin wouldn't even have it. Vin wanted him to keep looking because the guy was not in the system. So this movie really shows, like, to some extent, how difficult it is for somebody who's not even in the system to get in, if ever they do. Because it was really difficult to sell this guy to the system, to the structure of the American NBA. Like, many of them wouldn't have it. And the fact that somewhere in the film it was discovered, like, especially at the airport, that he had a record. He had physical assault record, violent record. So it also limited a lot of how much they progressed. Like, anytime somebody would express faith in him and want to sign him, that whole record would come up again, and everyone would feel very reluctant to go forward with helping the guy. So it really, this movie showed a lot. Like, if you're trying to be a basketballer, I do suggest watching Hustle, because it shows you the do's and don'ts. If you are sure you want to have a smooth ride, be a peacemaker, be a peace lover. Never get yourself in trouble to be, to have your name on some record or some crime you've committed. It would slow down. It would. Many of the people that had faith in him kind of started regretting that. They really had to push a lot to get him through, and Adam actually had to fund him coming to the US. Adam and his wife, it was Queen Latifah who played his wife in this film, and let me just tell you, Queen Latifah is like one of my personal favorite actresses of all time. I've been watching her since a long time, and she just seems to be the right pick for basketball films for some reason. There's a different film she did with Common, the rapper, the US rapper, also a basketball film. So seeing her in this one was kind of cool. She played his wife in the role. A multiracial like couple and everything. I guess they were trying to be inclusive with that, and that was kind of cool to see. So at first this Vin wouldn't like sponsor bringing back his name. The name of the athlete is Bo Cruz. Vin wouldn't even sponsor Bo Cruz coming back to the US. He felt like Bo Cruz couldn't do it since Bo Cruz wasn't in the system. So it took Adam sponsoring the plane ticket back to the US, even calling the lawyer that would help sort out his criminal record situation at the airport, because he was pulled aside, at the airport and held there until like Adam had to call one of the lawyers of the 76ers who came through and helped sort that out. He tried to pay the guy on the low, but the guy still reported to Vin, so Vin kind of knew that Adam had smuggled Bo Cruz on his own, pay back to the US and everything. He had to sponsor Bo Cruz's hotel room, all his meals, everything. Like, he would wake up 4 a.m., drive his car all the way to his hotel room to come train him. They would go to this particular street, and it was a hill-like street, so he'd tell him to run till you get to the top of the street, and they were trying to angle it at a particular time, so they're trying to see that he runs, and he runs fast. He had to get this basketball court and get this basketball like training guys that helped train him in speed and accuracy and being able to tackle and how to still push through when being attacked and all of that. It was a lot, you guys. Like, this film, I feel, is the most, the most transparent view into what it is to be a basketballer in 2023. Like, they showed everything, you guys. Like, these people train like crazy. I almost think they're not human anymore, that they are able to even like endure all that pain, because their body is not used to that. So your body will definitely revolt to that kind of strain put on it all of a sudden. So for them to push through and do that on a consistent basis every single day is crazy. Like, there are times he's in the gym, times he's at the court, times he's running up the hill, like from 4 a.m. every morning. You know, they were trying to prepare for this showcase called the Combine, where like people who are not yet in the NBA, who are trying to get in, that feel like they're ready, you know, that also have the right person in, because you can't just get into the Combine because you want to go. It also boils down to the networking, because Adam, you know, he had already played basketball beforehand, so he's like a former basketballer turned scout. So he kind of knew all the former basketballers who had now become agents and kind of were now running the system, sort of. So because of that, he could call up his guys and be like, hey, I have this athlete, you know, when it's a combine happening, can you get me into the combine? And they always came through for him. You know, so this is his networking, and the fact that he was in the system, even though Bo Cruz was not in the system, kind of helped. Like, Bo Cruz was appearing a lot in the right places. The right cameras were capturing him. So to some extent, he got there faster than if it was somebody who didn't have anybody in the system. He was televised a lot. His name kept coming up a lot, and that also helped. Like, the fact that he was consistent, no matter how much he effed up in one point, it won't stop him. The next camera that comes up, he's right there again. He proved it, and even though he had a record that could have stopped him, it didn't at the end of the day stop him. He still pulled through and, you know, ended up good at the end of the day. So, and then another thing that came through is, as much as he was a great athlete, he had anger problems. Like, his daughter is a very sensitive topic for him, because of, like, it also is the reason why he even got the record, the criminal record in the first place. Like, he had a relationship with a woman, she got pregnant just whilst he was going off to sign with the Atlanta Hawks, I think that's what they're called. So he didn't go off any longer. He stayed behind to be a dad to the daughter. Of course, he and the lady broke up, so he took custody of the child. She started dating somebody else, and this guy now put it in her head that if she found a way to get sole custody of the child, that he should be able to earn government support, government money on the child. Upon hearing this, Bo Cruz goes to the guy's house to sort of confront him, like, why would you put this in my baby mama's head? And it ends up being an altercation that gets him the criminal record. That's how he got the criminal record in the first place. And so him now appearing in all these cool places, being able to get a spot and a chance at signing to the NBA, he meets this African American guy. Okay, so it's kind of cool in a way that they were okay with making a black guy the bad guy, I have to say, because with some of these films, because of just the gender and race thing, it almost makes it seem as if we just want to push black people into the positive light so much because of how much bad press or non-press we've gotten. But I'm happy that with LeBron James at the head of this production, he was okay with, you know what, yes, we've gotten no press at some point, we've gotten bad press at some point, but this story needs a villain. And it's okay if a black person plays that villain. And it turned out to be a fellow black basketballer who was also trying to get picked, you know, by an NBA team. So he shows up for the combine, right? He's in position to play, and this guy next to him is like, okay, so where are you from? What's your name? He says his name to this stranger and where he's from, and the guy then proceeds to start beating down his country, starts trying to literally verbally blackmail him, mentally blackmail him. It's a lot. The guy has a lot of like insults to throw at him in between takes and everything. And Bo Cruz is not used to people insulting him while he plays, especially in the country he's been trying to come to and the game he's been trying to play. He's gotten close to his dream, so he's kind of a bit, shall I say, sensitive, and this guy plays on the fact that he's sensitive. And because the guy is insulting him all through the game, he really doesn't score anything, and there are a lot of big leagues and gatekeepers in the room, so he really doesn't make a great first impression, actually, because this guy is in his head already, So he feels disappointed. Adam also feels disappointed. So Vin was also in the room, so Vin got to see Bo play. And for somebody you've been boasting about on the phone that he's good, to now come see the person play for the first time and he's not really that good. Adam kind of felt a type of way. But I have to give it to his friend Leon. Leon happened to be like his friend that was in the NBA too. They played together, but he didn't play as long as Leon played. So Leon played and is now a retired basketballer that is now a sport agent. So just Leon really played the role of an advisor and encourager to Adam all through his journey. Many times when it seemed like, damn, he can't make any headway, like he can't succeed at getting this guy through, like Leon will come through and be like, you can do this, like he's almost there, you are almost there. And he really encouraged him. And many of the top spots that it took knowing who was in charge to get into, it was Leon that Adam will call on every time, and Leon will really come through for him. And so Leon is out there telling him about his own situation, like when he was in the NBA and how at first too he came in the game and thought, oh, he was on top and everything, but the first game too he didn't do so good. This other guy was really scoring on him and he never played like that again, because he now understood that he has to get his mental state in check and can't let anybody in on his mind. And it also shows that this game is also a mental game. You have to have your mind in check. Just as you're training your body to be top notch, you have to also train your mind to be top notch, because people can be mean. How he had enough time during play to even insult Ball Cruz is wild to me. This is a very taxing game. You should be figuring out where the ball is going and trying to get it to you and trying to score as much as possible to prove to these guys that you are the pick. And he still had time in between that to throw really direct insults at Bo Cruz, insulted his country, insulted him. It was a lie. So, in the parking lot, Vin comes up to Adam and is like, you know what, I'm not signing this guy. Anything you've spent on him is all on you. I'm not going to foot those bills. Adam looks at him and is like, you know what, I quit. I'm not going out on the road anymore. I'm not missing my child's birthdays for you. Like, you don't even pay me enough. I quit. He was so emotional in that scene, and I love it because passion has emotion in it. Like, you cannot be passionate and have all your emotions in check. I kind of low-key believe there has to be a point at which it shows. There's a crack to prove that this means so much to you. And I love the fact that Adam showed that in this film. I feel like this is one of the films he's acted in the most. Like, there was so much acting for him in this one, and it was so nice to see with the amount of acting he had to pull and how good he was at it. Like, there were so many things that tugged at this man's emotions, and he proved it every time. He was so passionate about it. He was passionate about Bo Cruz. He truly believed in the guy. So many of the times when even the guy will feel like, damn, this is the end of the road, he will be the one coming through and saying, no, we didn't come this far for nothing. Do you truly believe in this game? Are you really passionate? Are you obsessed with this game? And if you are, let's keep going. Like, he was really a father figure to Bo Cruz in this film, I have to say. It was also nice to see two men show that bro love and bro romance in a way. It was nice. It was real nice to see two men root for each other and see, love between them and everything, a father-son type of situation. So, he quits from the job and Vin walks away, and he turns to Leon, who was by his side all the while, and was like, you know what, can you get my guy in on the next game? It's a 3-month gap. Leon is like, you know what, I'll try. And so it's 3 months to the next big showcase, sort of, and he has to get Bo Cruz ready, because now he knows the weaknesses of Bo Cruz and he cannot afford to let Bo Cruz not get this. And if Bo Cruz doesn't get those weaknesses in check, he will not be able to get this at all. So it's training. That's when the 4 a.m. calls begin. He has to run up a hill. He has to then from there go on to some basketball court and train with some, assistant coaches and stuff, training different things. He has to train his arms to be quicker. He has to train his feet to be quicker. Even at a point, he begins to train him by insulting him just so he can get that mental block up and not be able to be affected by any insult anyone jabs at him at the court. Like, Adam Sandler literally starts insulting him while he's throwing shots. It's crazy. Insult him in English, goes on to insult him in Espanol and everything. It's a whole thing. Insult him, insult his mom, everything, just to help him build up that mental what's the word I'm looking for, wall, like security, to make sure that whatever anybody says doesn't get in to stop him from doing his job. Like, he can deal with all of that later, but right now, get the job done. So even calls in his daughter, who's a film major in school, to come and video them to get footages whilst he plays. The daughter is smitten with Bo Cruz at first, and it's a little funny scene in there. So she's the one videoing everything whilst he's playing, just so they can play back and look at his progress, and he too can see how much he's progressing and if he's not progressing. So it's a whole team. Like, there's even a point at which they call these basketballers to help him train with his tackling of the ball, and he has to train in that because since he's such a tall guy, he's sometimes slower than the average person. So he had to train in his handling of the ball. That way he's better at it. It's just so much technicality to it that it really does full on represent as a full on basketball in your movie and everything. And I got to see things I've never seen before, things I didn't even know basketballers went through. Like, it's crazy. Even there's so many iconic scenes in there. And you got even one time he's running in the rain, y'all. Like, come rain, come shine, he's running. He's training no matter what. It's a whole lot of training, but he does get better. He does get faster, and he gets to the point at which they want him to get to, which is him faster, him more precise, and him literally a brick wall out there and not easily affected. Or so they thought. And somehow it's closer to the combine. He's to the next showcase, and he's really good now, but he's still somehow sad. So Adam doesn't understand why he's sad now and everything. So Adam talks to his wife about it, and the wife is like, what, it's probably because he hasn't seen his child in 3 or 4 months. He has never been away from her since she was born, so it's probably taking its toll on him. Even though he's happy about how much he's progressing in his career, he's kind of unhappy with the fact that his child is not here with him. So Adam flies out his mom and his child to come see him. Bear in mind that Adam was also supporting his mother and his child every week with $500. Like, they really invested in Bo Cruz, you guys. They really did invest in the guy. They put their own money on the line because they had faith that he would get in. Like, it would be worth all the sacrifices, So yeah, they flew his mom and daughter out to see him, so he was really happy to see his daughter, and it proved to be the reason why he was so sad. There was even a scene where he had dinner at home with Adam, the wife, and the child, and he proceeds to ask Adam's wife, Queen Latifah, like, how did she meet Adam and everything, and it's a funny story, and everything. It's really crazy. And there's a scene where Adam then talks about himself, like how he ended up even becoming a scout, becoming a coach. He was a basketball player. He was built to become, the basketball player. And one night of getting drunk and driving drunk, ended that for him. He went to jail, and by the time he came out, he couldn't be a basketballer anymore, So he had to find some other job to do within the society, within the sports, the basketball sport and everything, and that ended up being a scout and an assistant coach. So yeah, that they really bonded as, I would say, father and son, like sharing woes and sharing victories and everything. So it was really nice to see that. And when the next showcase came, the same black guy was there again, and they had to play next to each other, and now his child was in the room. Oh Lord. At first, every jab the guy throws at him, because of his training, he really doesn't let it come through. So the guy is kind of frustrated because he's not winning. And it shows in the film too that to him, like if he sees somebody who is, somebody better than him, his solution to that is to insult the person, to bring down the person's walls. So if the person is shaking, he can then score. But if the person is at their game, he really can't score nothing. It showed, because when Bo Cruz didn't let his words pierce her, or he wasn't scoring anything, Bo Cruz was scoring all the points, and all the coaches were now interested in Bo Cruz. So at that point he scores a goal, and he then, makes a sign to his child, and his child makes a sign back, and this black guy sees the child in the crowd and smiles, and he's like, okay, I finally have you at where I need you. He then starts talking about the girl, talking about her mom, and boy, his face changes, and Adam, looking at his face, says, okay, Adam realizes that this guy has got him again, and he's trying to get the guy out of the play, that way he doesn't mess up or do something wrong. And the coach who's in charge of the showcase won't let Bo Cruz leave. He wants him to play and to really figure out if this guy is NBA worthy and whatnot. And the guy gets to Bo Cruz, and Bo Cruz literally makes a scene that stops the entire game, guys. So like, it also proves that he wasn't really over the anger thing. I don't know. Maybe he cared about his child too much. But can you tell a parent not to care about their child? Like, can you judge a parent by how much they care about their child? I don't know. Can we dissect this a little bit in the comment section, guys? Because I kind of feel like his love for his child ended up being a kind of weakness for him that he, to be honest, never got over. Because this is towards the end of the film, and he was still riled up anytime anyone mentioned his child or mentioned his child's mother. The first thing that got him a record is still the same thing that almost prevented him from getting his dream. So to me, it's something that never left him. It was never addressed again past this point, but seeing that as he didn't overcome it at this point in the film, that means he probably for a bit will not be able to overcome it. And that makes me wonder, if somebody does their research on you and is trying to bring you down, figures out it's your kid, isn't that some kind of easy way to bring you down? I don't know, just let's talk about it in the comment section. Let's figure it out together. If you're a parent, let's hear what you have to say. If you're not a parent, let's also hear what you have to say. Like, what do you think about this? Was it right of Bo Cruz to love his child so much that he could literally punch a dude right in the middle of a game for his child? So and he was willing to risk everyone's effort just to defend his child over some stranger's remarks. So let's just hear what you have to say in the comment section. I'm down to hearing that. And before we get into it, have you subscribed yet? Subscribe, like, comment, share this video, and after this video, check out other episodes of ours that we have on the page, from our long span videos to our YouTube shorts. We have all of them on lock for you on this page, the Evermore 1993 YouTube channel. Evermore 1993 as one word YouTube channel, guys. Okay, back to the story. So this last altercation pretty much puts the nail in the coffin for Bo Cruz. Nobody wants to hear anything again. Then they all keep bringing up his criminal record and saying, you know what, this is why you don't allow strangers in, this is why you stick with the rules. Like, he then becomes the devil pretty much with this. And at this point, Adam also is resigned. And he puts Bo Cruz's mother and child on a plane, and Bo Cruz is up next on a plane, so to go back to Spain, because that's the end. He literally almost punched the black guy right there with all those cameras out. There's no explaining past that point. So yeah, they all say their sad goodbyes. And just at the airport, this is a movie with an airport scene. Leon calls again and is like, there's this game about some of the old guys are putting together, no cameras or nothing, but like there's some execs here that can sign him off cameras and everything. So Adam is like, nah, I just put him on the plane. It's kind of over. And Leon will have it. Leon, like, is the plane in the air? If it's not in the air, then you can still get him back. So they are racing against time, and they get to the place just in time, and the same black guy is there again. But this time, Adam tells him, this is your last shot, so get it or don't get it. And so at this point, Bill Cruz gets it, even though the guy keeps insulting him and everything. He really, at this point, has dealt with the whole matter. There's not really a mention of the guy calling his child. So maybe the guy also regretted going that far, maybe. But the guy does keep throwing jabs at him, and it doesn't work. So at that scene, somebody from the Boston team was there. So the guy sees Bo Cruz play and comes up to Adam and is like, you know what, we might actually want to sign this guy. He's really good. And so the next scene we see is Adam in his position as assistant coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. Yes, he finally became the coach. Vin was fired from his job as the leader because he didn't sign Bo Cruz, and he instead went on reputation damaging media tour saying how Bo Cruz was had a record and was brought in by, a fired staff and whatnot. So the board of directors thought to fire Vin and bring his sister in as the new head of the Philadelphia 76ers. And she went back to hire Adam, and everything. And because Vin was no longer in charge, Adam was more than happy to go back to the team. So he got back to the team. He's now the assistant coach. They show him walking out with the coach to a game between them and Bo Cruz's Boston game. So that's the next time we see Adam with Bo Cruz. It's at a game, him playing for the Boston team, and he walks up to Adam. He shows that he's wearing the same number that Adam used to wear when he was playing, which is 22, like in his way of honoring Adam. And then he has a new tattoo on his hand of what Adam used to tell him, which is never back down. So he really hugs Adam with so much love, like a son will hug a dad, pretty much. It was such a cool scene. Adam also tries to throw some jab in there and for Bo Cruz it's not working. They hug, they laugh, he gives him his advice to play hard and everything, and they hug again and separate parts and whatnot. And that shows that Adam succeeded in getting Bo Cruz in, and Bo Cruz got in, you guys, and Adam finally got what he always wanted, which is being an assistant coach. I just have to say before we end this, because that's the end of the film, that there was a scene in there that I really want to talk about. It's the scene where Bo Cruz, has finally finished his training. Adam is still trying to get him into cool places to play where the main guys are at that make the decisions for the NBA and everything, and he's really having difficulties. So he's calling a lot of people that he used to relate with, and none of them are really giving him anything. And there's this particular guy he's screaming at on the phone. He's like, I used to speak as a guest speaker at your father's summer camp every single year, and I never asked him to pay. I never asked you to pay. This is the one thing I'm asking you to do for me, and you won't do it. And I do think that scene is one of the most iconic scenes in the entire film, period, because his voice is raised, he's really emotional, his voice is shaky, he's passionate, he's frustrated, and his wife, Queen Latifah, just really cautiously walks up to him, and just when he sees her walking up to him, he's trying to explain, and she just goes straight and hugs him, no words. Guys, I tell you, it's just so refreshing to see such a scene. She just hugs him, and right then he just calms down, and he's hugging back, and he's like he's been in the game for 30 years and yet he's nothing and everything. And upon hearing his voice screaming on the phone, of course their only child comes out of her bedroom upstairs. She comes to the stairways and she's looking, and she comes at the point where Queen Latifah comes up to hug Adam Sandler. And I just have to say, she was watching as her parents were hugging it out. She watched her dad frustrated, and she saw the response of her mother to her father's frustration. And the response was love. It wasn't a clap down or shut the hell up or anything like that. It was to comfort him, to understand him, to encourage him. And she saw her parents hugging, and I have to say it's such an iconic visuals to give your children, just to let them know how to handle it when it comes to their own turn. Now that girl will not, growing up, at least for the most part, she knows what to do in such a situation. She knows also what to expect when she's in such a situation, and if somebody is not giving that to her, it will raise up red flags for her, because she would forever have this as the way to behave in her mind. And if somebody is not doing that, that person will be wrong forever in her mind, for the most part. It's so iconic and so exemplary and so refreshing to give children such an iconic visual about how to deal with frustration, about how to deal with the frustrations of those we love, of others around us. I really am happy that that scene was in the film, showing how parents should deal with things and how their children should catch them dealing with things. And Adam and Queen never knew that their daughter saw that scene, but she did. And now she knows how to deal with such a thing. Now she's seen her parents as not just strong all the time, but she's seen them weak, and she has seen that when somebody is weak, it's not to laugh at the person or beat them down, it's to raise them up. So she has no option but to do the same in her own life. You know, she's on to a great start, finding a very healthy partner now, because she has seen the kind of partner her parents are to each other. You know, she didn't see the father reject the hug of the mother or anything like that. No, he accepted the love and the tenderness Queen was bringing to him, and she was bringing that to him. Her instant reaction to him yelling on the phone was to comfort him, was to hug him and to show him it's okay. You know, he's okay, he's loved, he's seen. And I think that was so nice to show, and I pray for that for me and my own family, and I pray that you can have that for your own family listening in. And I pray that this story time can encourage you to watch this for yourself. I honestly want to give this to you as a gift. Go watch this one and watch a film about passion, about basketball, about a lot of resilience, a lot of hard work, a lot of beat downs and rise ups, a lot of love and tenderness and support and faith. This film was about faith. Adam had faith. He spent his money when there was nothing coming in. There was a scene where the wife finally figured out that it wasn't the team that was handling the finance, and she freaked out. And he tried to calm her down, and she was like, "Okay, but this has to make sense, you know." So it was a leap of faith for this guy. He put himself out there to see that Bo Cruz got through, and I know that is not always the situation for some. For some, the person doesn't come through and he makes it seem like you wasted your time and your effort. But for the few that it works out, it's kind of nice to see too, right? So it was really cool to see it work out for Bobo Cruz and Adam in this film. And it's nice to see somebody who's not in the grain, somebody who was not even thought about, get into the grain and get into the team and really make it in there and everything. So this one was a really passionate watch for me. I just have such a soft spot for athletes, not because of anything, but just because of how hard they work. You know, I just think it's crazy how hard they work, and I just honestly want all of them to succeed because of how hard they work. It's just unreal if somebody works that hard and still doesn't succeed. Like, what else do you want me to do, you know? So it's really crazy how I wish they didn't have to work so hard, but then if they do finally work that hard, I want them to succeed at what they're doing, you know. So yeah, this has been the movie story time for the American film Hustle, and I hope you have enjoyed it. You know, like we usually do on this channel, comment on this one, tell us who your favorite character was, who your least favorite character was, your favorite scene in the entire film, how you would have rather the film ended. You know, it's something that we do on this channel. Let us know in the comment section. We'll try to reply and respond to as many comments as we can. So subscribe, share, likes, and comment about this. Turn on post notifications, that way you know when we drop new videos. Also go on the Evermore 1993 as one word YouTube channel and check out all of our other offerings, from long span videos to short span videos, our YouTube shorts, on other movie story times and whatnot on the channel. We have so much on lock here. Support the brand. It's a brand new channel. I'm Stephanie, an Abuja based YouTuber, in Abuja, Nigeria, West Africa, and this is the Evermore 1993 YouTube channel. Evermore 1993 as one word, guys. God bless you as you have stuck with us till the end. This is the end of the movie story time, guys. I hope you are on to watch other episodes that we have. Stay tuned and God bless. Make sure to love on God, fulfill the purposes of God as pertains to you upon the earth, serve the purposes of humanity, and most importantly, love on yourself. Love on yourself, believe in yourself, take care of you. Take care of you. There's only one you. You are loved, you're valued. Hello and welcome to another episode of Movie Story Times. I am your host or hostess, Stephanie, a brand new YouTuber based in Abuja, Nigeria, West Africa. And this is the Evermore 1993 YouTube channel. Evermore 1993 as one word YouTube channel. On this page we post movie reviews, movie story times, a new segment called Event Rundown. Check out our episodes on that, love, life, gist, and more. And today, on our episode of Movie Story Times, we will be speaking on the movie, the American film, The Man from Toronto. Yes, it's a 2022 Netflix film, The Man from Toronto. Okay, welcome. How has your week been? Hope you've been amazing. Hope you've been good. Hope you've been glorious. So today's episode. It's an American film, like I said. The name is The Man from Toronto. It's a 2022 Netflix film. Even though I think there was a little bit of a delay with releasing this one. I think they finished this film probably in 2020, and with the whole lockdown and COVID, a lot of films, their production time and release time was pushed. They had to start navigating it again, because usually films used to be theater released mostly, and now they had to hybrid release or streaming release. Hybrid release means to do both theater releases and a streaming site, Netflix, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, and the rest. So many production companies had to have those meetings to know, okay, what way do we go? And they had to look at data. Okay, what are people navigating towards? Because COVID had just happened, the pandemic. Some people were still scared of being in physical contact, so close physical contact with others, because a theater, like, you're really close with somebody else, like you don't know where that person has been. So they had to look at data, and many productions chose to go the hybrid way. That way they're not losing out on any one of the markets, because data showed that there were people that were kind of already used to going to the theater, so they had no problem with it. They just put on their mask, sanitize, and they're good. And there are so others that were very skeptical about that, and who had already grown so used to watching on Netflix and the streaming sites that they really didn't find it. There was nothing wrong with continuing that. They didn't really see any big deal about watching it online or going to the theater, so they would rather do online. So many production companies chose to go the hybrid way, being able to make some money on the theater from run, and then make most of their money, to be honest, on the streaming, because theater can only go for so long. I think it's 3 months top, and you can't be in theaters no more. But on streaming, you're there forever, for as long as you want. So that's obviously the longer route, but also this shorter route produces its own bit of money worldwide. So a lot of companies thought to go that way, and so I think this is one of the ones that went that way. I think they did both theaters and they did Netflix as their streaming partner. So you can find The Man from Toronto if you haven't watched it yet on Netflix, and it's a Calvin Hart movie with a Woody Harrelson. Sorry, his name is a bit of a mouthful for me. Harrelson. Yes, he's a comedian, a really established comedian. Forgive the fact that I'm pronouncing his name wrong. He really is famous, guys, and he's made his mark in the industry. If you're into SNL, he's made his mark there as well. He really is a legend in the comedy scene, and of course we have Kevin Hart, another legend in the comedy scene for those who black and everything. So they both team up on this one, and this is a strange one in that Woody is playing a hitman in this movie. He's not really funny, he's really straightforward, and he's really serious and everything. So I guess it was very surprising, first of all, to see him in that light, and then refreshing to see him in that light as well. He's also proving that he can wear as many hats as he wants. He's not really restricted to just comedy. He can play anything. I think that's also what he's trying to prove with this movie, and we get the message. He really killed it in this film. Kevin Hart also killed it in this film. But I have to say that it's with this film I figured it out that it seems Kevin Hart has a niche for and a thing for playing a guy that is sort of a hopeless guy that sort of is now cleaved to some really serious person, and that jacks up the serious part of him. If you've watched his movies with Ice Cube, the rapper from the US, the African American rapper, it's something along those lines. If you've watched Central Intelligence that he did with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the retired wrestler who's now really into acting, it's something also along those lines, where he's kind of a loser. He's married, very serious in his marriage, kind of a loser, and by some strike of fate, he's cleaved to this person that just seems so out of the world for him, just out of his circle and out of his line. And this person is serious, is a bad guy, he really doesn't take a joke, and just dealing and interacting with this person helps him to become a better person himself. So it's a movie along those lines. I really, at this point, kind of want to see him do other type of things. This is my own personal opinion on Kevin Hart in this film, in The Man from Toronto. At this point, I kind of want to see him do something else. I really loved what he did in The Fatherhood, because it was to some extent different from what he usually plays. What he did in Me Time as well with what's his name, Mark Wahlberg. If you've watched that, I think it's also a 2022 film. He did something really cool. He was the serious one in that film. I know Mark was the unserious one. So yes, kind of want to see him explore other avenues, other genres, other storylines, sort of. And I know this one has worked for him, and people kind of love seeing him in this light, but I do think it's up to the artist to also push the envelope. It's not your audience that should have to tell you, oh yeah, we're tired of seeing you in this light. I know we used to laugh and we used to call this funny, but it's no longer funny. You need to push it. I don't think it's up to your audience to tell you. I think it's your responsibility as an artist to know that as much as you're good in this one thing, it's up to you to deliberately push and find other storylines that show you in completely different lights. I absolutely think it's time for him to do something like that and look beyond the money. No offense, but I think to some extent he's still very keen on making the dollars as both the producer and the actor on his projects. And I understand that, living in America is really expensive. You have to be able to cater to your family. But at the same time, I do think you're already an established name that you can afford to take such a leap. You're not like a brand new actor still trying to find a niche and even trying to get the audience to recognize you and go to a theater based on just your name on the call-up line and whatnot. You're already established. Your name sells movies. Your name is enough to pull people of all races. That's something he's been able to accomplish that is really cool. As a black person, it's not just black people that listen to Kevin Hart. Black, white, everybody loves Kevin Hart. He's funny to everybody. I think he's done something iconic with his career, but the fact that he's then chosen to play it safe is kind of not cool to me. I kind of was disappointed in what the storyline turned out to be again. I'm really happy for Woody because this is him playing outside of his box, but Kelvin kind of stuck in his own box. He was the loser husband who didn't have anything going for him. He had so many inventions that honestly, there was a particular invention that didn't seem like an invention at all. I guess he was trying to copy some other brand that had done something close. When you watch the film, you would understand what I'm saying. He had this black dustbin bags on as some kind of fashion outfit. For those who know, you know, I'm not trying to mention the brand right now. And it just was a really dumb idea. He fainted in the video he was making. You guys, you have to watch this movie to understand what I'm saying. It opens with him in all of these things I'm saying, so you not up to 10 minutes into the film you understand this scene I'm talking about right now. It just, some of those inventions, you just don't understand them, but he had them, you know. So yeah, he's really the loser husband who hasn't gotten his shit together, but his wife is really successful and everything in her own right, and he still wants to have a baby. I don't think any man who hasn't cracked it should be having a child, okay? You know, especially if majority of your income comes from your wife. I don't know, it's a personal opinion, but you know, it's his wife's birthday and he wants to treat her. You know, he books out an entire cabin and, you know, books out an entire day for a spa treatment and everything. But he makes a mistake whilst booking the cabin. He didn't see the address properly well, so as he drops her off, his wife off at the spa to get her treatment all day and everything, he goes up to go drop their stuff at the cabin, right? That way he can come back and pick her to the place, like let him go find out where it is before it's late and all of that. And so he's on the road, you know, holding up the paper with the address on it, trying to figure out where in this entire wood, you know, the cabin is, and he goes the wrong way to a different cabin, and there's a guy there who takes a photo of him. On coming in, he drops all his stuff, and the man then escorts him to the basement. There he sees a man tied up, all bloodied up on the face, and he's trying to leave, and the man's like, no, you can't leave, you're the man from Toronto, you know, proceed to do what you do. And he's surprised because he's not the man from Toronto, right? He doesn't understand what this is about, but this seems like a bad situation. And but the men have guns, so he can't really leave. So he's just playing around, playing with words and everything, trying to figure out, okay, what exactly do they want me to do to this man? He proceeds to walk closer to the man and asks him really silently in a whisper, do you owe them money? What's this about? The man is too terrified because they've told him stories that, like, he's supposed to reveal an information to these guys, and he refused to reveal this information. And these guys prepped up this man from Toronto, saying, if this man comes here, you will not be able to keep this address to yourself. By the time he's done with you, you will reveal this address. You know, they hyped him up and everything. So the man is already freaking out, right? The minute he sees Calvin, all these things they've said to him is literally replaying in his head. So every move Calvin makes, he's scared. It's really funny, you have to watch. And so Calvin doesn't really do much, and the man reveals the numbers they were looking for, and Calvin didn't even know what this whole thing was about. But just as the man has gotten the address, the FBI pulls up and really, you know, takes out the entire raid and everything, and they take Calvin in and explain to him what is going on. Now Calvin is like, okay, cool, you guys know I'm not the man from Toronto, so can I leave? Like, my wife is waiting for me. And they're like, oh no, you can't leave. The man already took a photo of you and sent it to his partner. And there's a part 2 to the mission. So now they think you're the man from Toronto, so you have to go and finish the mission, or else they will probably trace you, and, you know, and America is in danger, sort of thing. And he just doesn't understand these people. To him, he's on his, you know, wife's birthday. He wants to go have fun with his wife. He's trying to save his marriage because this is the last straw for him in his marriage, and he really loves his wife and everything. And these people are out here talking about him going on some mission as the man from Toronto with guns and stuff involved, and he's never held a gun in his life. So he wasn't really having it, but they won't let him go. So he's like, you know what, I'll do it, but you all have to help me settle my tax situation. He has a lot of money situation they have to settle for him. They send this, Latino fine looking man as, some kind of personal assistant to the wife to go make sure she's taken care of, to make it seem like he had an entire day planned out for her, and he hired somebody to make sure of it. And there's this little funny scene he does with the guy where he's like, why are you sending a cute guy like this to my wife? It's a really funny scene. He's really comfortable in this kind of roles, so it's not hard to love him in the roles. I just, as a fan who's been there since his first film, which is Think Like a Man. If you all remember that movie, the Steve Harvey film, Think Like a Man, that was really about relationships and about the book Steve Harvey brought out, Think Like a Man. That was his literal first role. I remember that he was supposed to be a husband of Wendy Williams. I don't know if you all remember that. From that first film, I loved him. I'm a fan, so I kind of want to see him grow. I kind of want to see him evolve into other roles and take up other challenging roles that will show him in a more fuller and complete light, like that he's an actual full-on complete actor, not a comedian, not just a comedian. It's okay if he's a comedian, but I want to see him take on that acting cap as well, and take it on really well, take it fully on. So that's really me. But still, if he killed it in this role, yes, because he's used to this is his terrain. He created this genre, so this is him. He kills it every time he does this. But just because something isn't broken doesn't mean you can't try to fix it, right? So I kind of want him to fix this. As a real fan who's there for his growth and who truly wants the best for him. I don't just want to put him in a box. I want him to fly. I want him to be limitless as an actor. So yeah, that's it. But either way, if you're looking for a film where he kills it at, then definitely watch The Man from Toronto, because he kills it here. Like, the funny is on, the faces, Kelvin Hart gives faces, you guys. He gives a lot of face in this movie. So yes, you have to watch to see. So the truth is, Woody is the man from Toronto. So he's not really happy about some person he doesn't know pretending to be him. Truth is, that mission that Kelvin accidentally showed up at was supposed to go to the man from Toronto. He was actually on the way to that mission, and upon him getting there, he finds that it's after the FBI had raided the place, so they are collecting evidence and whatnot. He goes in disguised as a policeman to figure out who even botched his mission like this and everything. So he finds out Kelvin Hart's hot email address. He hacks into the email and sees all his videos of all his inventions and whatnot and everything. So he traces him to the next drop, which is supposed to be in Washington, D.C. Now Kelvin is working with the FBI to try and catch these bad guys. So he goes in and he's really just trying to watch to see how Kelvin handles this whole thing. He actually believes that Kelvin is a different spy at first. He can't believe that Kelvin is just a normal person. So he just watches to see how Kelvin handles the whole situation, right? So from that next drop, like, Kelvin goes with them on a plane. They're going on a plane. They're going to a different country. So yeah, Kelvin goes on the plane with them, and it's at the plane that the man from Toronto, Woody, appears. And there's a whole dialogue, funny dialogue between Kelvin and Woody. You have to watch to see that, between the armed guys. And Woody does the performing, the whole fight scenes. He really holds it down in those scenes really well. Just really plays a hitman really well. And so yeah, that's when they fully introduce themselves to each other, and Woody then really finds out that this man is not even a hitman. He's just a man who accidentally showed up at this location, and now he's in this mix. So they both then proceed to carry out the mission together, right? So in them hanging out together, of course, they're getting to know each other. Woody is the strong guy who's like tough and everything, whilst Calvin is kind of a normal guy, so he's reacting to everything normally and everything. So the next drop happens is like one of the funniest scenes ever. How Calvin handles that scene, because he's also supposed to figure out something here as well. It's a pain they're trying to figure out of some kind of nuclear weapon that they're trying to unleash on Venezuela, the country. So they're trying to figure out from the men tied up there who designed it, because he has the password and everything, and it's supposed to be Kelvin that should figure that out for them. It's a whole thing, you guys. It's literally a whole thing. He literally throws up on one of the guys. It's funny, like, oh my god, he slashed close to the eyes of a different guy and literally threw up on him. Oh my god, you guys have to watch to see this movie. Like, Kelvin really killed it in this film, I have to say. And then, the handler for the man from Toronto, the person who brings deals his way, suspects that he's not really going to handle the deal, so she calls a different one, the man from Miami. Apparently they're all men from different places. And so this guy also comes in to try and intercept the man from Toronto. It's a whole thing. You guys have to watch. It's really good. I hope I'm really selling this correctly. It's really, really good. Okay, at this junction, we take a pause to ask you, have you subscribed to the channel yet? Have you liked this video? Have you commented, so far about the video? Have you shared this video with others? If you haven't, you need to do all of those. Subscribe to the Evermore 1993 channel right now. Like this video right now. It doesn't take anything from you. Comment in the comment section of this video. Tell us what you think about the story time thus far. And then share this with others. Share this goodness with others. Turn on post notifications as well. That way you're alerted about videos that we post on this channel. Now, whilst you're done with all of that, I congratulate you and welcome you to the family. After you're done with this video, check out other videos we have on the Evermore 1993 YouTube channel. Evermore 1993, all as one word. Type that in. It will take you straight to our channel, you guys. We have a lot of long span videos. We have a lot of short span videos, YouTube shorts. Check them all out. Like them as well. Comment and share. Be engaged. Engage in this brand. This is a brand going places. Join in now. Yes. Okay, so back to the story time. So yeah, they finished this mission by some wonderful way, and they're back at home, and he has to go meet his wife. It's been a day, one full day somehow. So he has to go meet his wife at this restaurant. She's there with her best friend. Of course, it's her birthday, and they're supposed to have dinner at this fancy restaurant. So the man from Toronto decides to go with Calvin to this dinner, and he doesn't relate with women. He doesn't really relate to anybody. He's more just focused on his hitman job, and that's it. So he's feeling a little bit weird being around people, but Calvin gives him a little bit of a pep talk. And at the dinner table, it turns out that Calvin's wife's best friend also likes him, and he's surprised that she likes him. And the lady that plays the best friend is Kaylee Kuko. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. Sorry if I did not. But yeah, I think this is her first role after leaving the last one she was at. That was a really big role. So yeah, that's the person and everything. So there's a part where they proceed to the dance floor and they're dancing, and the man from Toronto, Woody, would not want to dance, but she finds a way to lure him to the dance floor, and he doesn't really know how to dance, and she shows him, and before you know it, they're really dancing. He's smiling, and he really doesn't smile if you want to throw out this film. But then the man from Miami is coming, and Calvin finds out. He sees the guy coming in through the back door, and he's able to get the man from Toronto away from the dance floor. That way they're not putting the women in danger. So they go into the I guess it's the supply closet of the restaurant, and So they're there, and the man from Miami comes in there. There's a whole fight scene. They're trying to get the thumb, okay? The thumb that's supposed to unlock this bomb. It's unlocked by a thumbprint and a pin. They've gotten the pin from the first guy at the beginning of the film. Now this second guy, they've gotten the thumb, or so they thought, from him. That way they can unlock the bomb and send it off to Venezuela to kill people, apparently. So that's really what the plan was about. So the man from Miami comes to take it from the man from Toronto after some beatdown and whatnot. Also, there are points at which the man from Toronto shot Kevin Hart in the ass, and then without even planning it, Kevin Hart shot the man from Toronto back in the ass. So there are points in there where they both did that. It's really funny. And so the man from Miami succeeds at taking the thumb, so they have to chase after him to get it back. And so they are going to the drop-off point where they actually meet the client finally, who happens to be the former Venezuelan president, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there, and his wife. So it's a whole thing. Nobody has actually seen the man from Toronto. Nobody has actually had a picture of the guy. He's been so careful to keep his image hidden. So Kevin Hart is actually the first image they're having of the guy. So you really can't shake off the fact that he's probably the mayor from Toronto, because that's the only photo of the guy that exists. So there's a whole thing where he comes in and he's pretending to be the man from Toronto, and the handler lady is there with the man from Miami. Oh, guys, Kevin Hart. Can I even say this more than that? Kevin Hart was in this movie, guys. He's funny, he's giving face all through this film, and he's just so refreshing and funny to see. How he's full on lying, but just because of the face he's giving, you cannot dare tell this man he's lying. He's really so funny. So yeah, the FBI comes in again, and it's a raid, and they don't succeed, and that's when they find out that the thumb is not even the right fit, not the right thumb. The man from Toronto specifically and deliberately took the wrong thumb. That way the bomb will not go off, because he too didn't want people dying. So he kind of played a good guy in the scene. So yeah, but he's been able to help the FBI get their mission done, but his wife leaves. She leaves him, she goes home, packs all her stuff, so by the time he's back home to kind of explain to her what happened, why he missed out on her birthday dinner, she's gone. She leaves him a voicemail, telling him how, she's really tired of waiting on him to come through and be the man he always claimed he would be, and she just needs some time away from him. And also he's sad in the house and everything, and the man from Toronto ran away with the money, so he doesn't even know where that one is, and he's alone now in his house, just really sad that he's lost his marriage, And so one of the days he's in the house, his wife sent him a message that she's going to her mom's place. She's going by train to go stay with her mom, and he's like, no, don't go. He's running to the train station, and then the enemies of the man from Toronto come through, and of course he's the one with the photo, so now they know him as the friend of the man from Toronto. So if you want to find out where the man from Toronto is, come to Kevin Hart, right? There are a lot of them, men from so many different places. That's really the agent name. They have to be a man from, or the man from a location, a specific location. So there's a man from Tokyo, the man from so many different places come through, of pretty much trying to threaten Kevin Hart to disclose of the location of the man from Toronto, but he doesn't know. So whilst he's just trying to hide, pretty much, the man from Toronto shows up and helps him, and is like, you know what, I kind of didn't want them to kill you. So he shows here that, the guy also got into his heart. They're friends now, even though he's having this whole macho feel to him. But you know what? I kind of like you. We're friends. So yeah, there's a whole fight scene here, fight upon fight upon fight. It's stacked up in such a cool way. It's just when they're finishing one, another person shows up. And it's like, what? We just, and they have to fight that one again, and the next shows up. They really stacked up the action scenes here upon each other so nicely, and It's really cool. It gives off the right emotion, the right image and scene and whatnot, and really adds to the storyline and makes it really thick and everything. So kudos to the scriptwriters, the director, and everybody who was in charge of this film, The Man from Toronto. I hope this is making it interesting enough for you to watch if you haven't watched it, and if you have, do comment in the comment section. Let's know, who's your favorite character, who's your least favorite character. Did you like how the movie ended? What don't you like about the film? What did you like about the film? What's your best scene in the movie? And how would you have it rather ended if you didn't like how it ended? What would you have wanted to see as the ending of the film? What do you have to say about the film pretty much, and the actors in the movie? Let us know in the comment section. We'll try to reply and comment back as much as we can. So the movie ends with Kelvin running off to the train station to go see his wife. And Woody's really generous. He doesn't give his car away to just anybody. His car is his baby. But he gives his car to Kelvin to go off to the train station to go meet his wife and try to convince her to stay. And he parks it in the wrong place, guys. And this car is full of money. Okay? Full of money. He parks it in the wrong place, and just as he's, trying to convince his wife and she's convinced, the train comes and, jams into the car. Money is flying over in the air. The car is wrecked. Oh my God, there's no recalling of that car. It's beyond repair. And then he knows he's dead. So they show 1 year later and their dinner, because the man from Toronto always wanted to open a restaurant and he was always scared, but finally he got the courage and he's opened his restaurant. So they're at his restaurant now, and Kevin Hart's wife is pregnant and he's dating the wife's best friend. So they're there celebrating his new restaurant opening, with him, and Kevin Hart proceeds to draw him to the side and give him a check. He's trying to pay instrumentally for the car he damaged. And the man from Toronto is not having it. He wants his car back. And there's a whole funny scene that happens out there. You have to watch to see. And then after that, it shows, Kevin Hart from the beginning of the film had this thing for non-contact boxing, where you're just boxing the air instead of boxing people. It was a thing for him. He was really big on the idea. So for some reason, he got funding and he's able to open his own non-contact boxing gym, I guess. And so he's on live, I think, on Instagram, and he's promoting it with some boxers in the background, literally boxing the air. And so he's promoting it before his viewers when, the man from Toronto calls in. Still asking him about the car and everything. So that's literally the last scene, and it's a really funny scene. So you have to watch to see how that goes down. So that's the end of the movie, guys. This has been the movie story time for the movie The Man from Toronto. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I did. It's a really cool film. It shows pretty much brotherhood as well. I think at least 2 of the films we just recently covered talks about brotherhood and just, friendship between men. Yeah, and it's really nice to see that. So yeah, this one is a light movie. It's a movie about friendship between men, like I said. It's that's pretty much what it is. So and also they both kind of persevered in what they wanted. He always wanted a restaurant. He finally opened one. He always thought non-contact boxing. Meaning Kevin Hart, always thought non-contact boxing was a thing, and he pushed it till he got it started. So I guess push through, even though your idea doesn't make sense to others. Love it enough to push through. I think that's also one of the lessons of this film. So yeah, that's been the movie story time for the film The Man from Toronto, the American film. I think you can find this on Netflix. So yeah, try that out if you really loved this. What else do I have to say about this movie? I really loved seeing Woody in a different light. I would say that again. It was really refreshing, and I hope that Kevin Hart is challenged to explore a lot more. This there's a lot more out there. I hope he's challenged to explore more and not just settle because this has worked out. But either way, this has indeed worked out, and this movie proved it again that he's really mastered this genre that he created, and it's really cool. Yeah, so that's it. I'm not trying to elongate this any longer than it already is. So hope you stay blessed. Love on God, love on humanity, and love on you. You're amazing. You're the only you there will ever be. So do not be anybody else. Be you all the way. You're amazing. You're perfect. You're beautiful. You're kind. Be all of these indeed, and believe that you are these. So be amazing. Have a blessed day. You're perfect. You are it. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, share, comment, subscribe, turn on post notification. Check out the Evermore 1993 YouTube channel, Evermore 1993 as one word YouTube channel. Check it out. And then love on other content we have displayed there from our long span videos. Check them out. Support to our YouTube shorts. Check them out. Support as well. Like them, share, comment, subscribe. This is a brand new channel. We're just a month old, so we're trying to get this channel up. Share and join this brand right now. Comment and commit to this brand right now, and we're all going places, guys. So yeah. This has been Stephanie, a brand new YouTuber based in Abuja, Nigeria, West Africa. And this has been the movie story time for the film, the American film